Hello, my name is Tyler Nelson. I'm doing a mini lecture on poverty and deviance. So, in this lecture, we are going to explain just how being in poverty is considered deviant, correlate poverty to illness, compare the US to other countries in terms of illness and disease rates, and use the gained knowledge from this lecture to explain the recent measles outbreak. What is double deviance? Being poor causes people in poverty to commit acts of deviance, and just the act of being poor is considered deviance. So, when you're poor, that is considered double deviant. Example: if someone is poor and they live in a rundown house and they're starving, their children are starving, they may end up robbing some grocery stores to get food to eat. And on top of that, they will also have the stigma and the label of being poor, which in our society is very frowned upon. And just being poor is deviant as it causes people to look down on you. And the more extreme version of this is homelessness. And I believe homelessness is the number one thing that's looked down upon in our society, even more than mental illnesses and different sexual preferences. So how does poverty lead to deviance? Well, in our society, respect is often based on economic or academic achievement. And low-income people are more often sick and are stigmatized in our society, as we tend to avoid sick people. And as we'll get into later, low-income people are the people that are more often sick. And if someone is poor, they receive different, almost always worse treatment than of people that are on the higher classes. Example of how poverty leads to deviance. In high school, sometimes the lower class people will come to school wearing raggedy clothing and stuff, while some upper class people will come to school with thousands of dollars on their outfits, and people will tend to gravitate towards the people who have the more expensive outfits. So that would be, people would look down on the poor people in that instance. The just world hypothesis. The just world hypothesis is the well-off deserve their good fortune while the unfortunate deserve their hardships. A couple quotes about this are, "You'll get what's coming to you, and you made your bed, now lie in it." When someone meets hardship, people often blame the victim and in turn create rationale for why they received their hardships. Example: people in the upper class might think, well, that poor person deserves to stay poor and go hungry and deal with the starvation and the inability to feed their family and everything just because they're lazy. In many cases, they don't have evidence to back this up. It's just a common stereotype of people in the lower class, that they're just lazy. And if they worked harder, they could get to the upper class. So why is being sick considered deviant? People who are most often sick will get stigmatized and avoided in our society. People do not want to be around other people who are sick. And if someone has a mental illness, they'll find it very hard to make friends and will often get avoided by everyone around them, and often become the butt of jokes in schools. That's mainly in the lower education schools, like middle school, elementary school, sometimes high school. Example of this is, if you're coughing in a crowded school hallway, this will cause extreme negative reactions by everyone else that's in the hallway with you, and they will create a wide berth around you and won't want to be next to you. So that they would consider you being sick a deviant act, and they would not want to be around you at all. Socioeconomic status, SES. This correlates to the prestige and pay of someone's occupation. So a higher paying job is going to have a higher prestige and a higher SES. So examples of that would be like doctor, lawyer, an owner of a successful company. While a low paying job would be lower prestige, lower SES. Examples: janitor and fast food workers. Low versus high socioeconomic status. Good health is strongly related to education, income, and SES. Poor people are more likely to get sick and injured and less likely to be covered by medical insurance, causing them to suffer from undiscovered and untreated conditions. longevity is directly correlated to health, so low socioeconomic status people tend to live shorter lives, and high SES people are able to afford the best healthcare, healthiest foods, and also have the least risk of disease. So this is because when they're poor, their surroundings aren't as nice as the people in the upper classes, and they might be more exposed to other sick people or other diseases. And when they try to go and get healthcare, they will not be able to afford it, as insurance will not cover them. So they won't be able to go back to the healthcare, and this causes them to have a vast amount of undiscovered and untreated conditions. While the high SES people are able to afford this, they're able to go back, they're able to diagnose these conditions they have, and this allows them to treat them, and in turn allows them to live longer and healthier lives. So the measles outbreak. According to an article written by Harvard Health, 222 cases have been confirmed over 12 states. In West Texas, the vaccination rate was reported to be 82%. According to that same article, 95% plus means it's pretty hard for measles to spread. And of the people that got diagnosed with the cases of measles, 98% of them were unvaccinated, had unknown status, or only one of the two doses. So people who are unvaccinated are usually the poor who are unable to afford the healthcare, which directly correlates to them getting these diseases that high SES people can avoid. If you're poor, you're already considered a deviant, and contracting measles will increase the stigma and deviance of that trial, further implicating how just being in poverty makes you a deviant. The USA versus other developed countries. When compared to the other developed countries, Americans on average live the unhealthiest lives, and children are less likely to reach 19 years old by a sizable amount. We have the second highest heart disease and lung disease rates. And the causes of this are unequal distribution of wealth. So there's a large amount of people in our society that are living in poverty and are unable to afford the healthcare system, even though that's another one of the possible reasons, because we don't have the greatest healthcare system. And people in the USA are more likely to take risks, like not getting vaccinated, if they don't deem it worthy. Conclusion. Being poor in our society carries a negative stigma, with it causing the label deviant to be attached. Low-income individuals are more likely to contract diseases and live shorter lives. With a massive economic gap in the U.S., people are unable to afford the necessary health care, which is why the U.S. has horrible health statistics compared to other developed countries. This is my works cited, and thank you.